Hello, hello, hello.
David, welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Part two.
Part
Thank
two,
you.
part two, part two.
Thank you for having me back for another time.
For sure, man. Because there was a lot more that I remembered after our interview. I was like, oh no, I forgot to ask him this and this. So we gotta get more deeper into the details
Yeah.
of this film. So thank you so much for your time again, man, for coming back.
No worries, my pleasure. And yeah, I think it's always like this that yeah. Oh, I should have said this. I should have asked this, right? So
Right, right,
yeah.
right. But yeah, let's start off like I remember from the first interview you were saying like the film was like a 7 or 8 years process, and I was like, oh really? Like I didn't realize when I saw the film that there was a concept like a proof of concept for the movie like years ago. So can you explain to me more about that, like how that came about?
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a very long process. And to be honest, I never thought that this movie will neither Moritz, the director, never thought that this movie gonna happen because we made like it's all started with the previous. At the beginning, it called Silence
Oh.
because Arendt, who was the first script writer, had this idea to make a deaf and mute character. And yeah, so we made a previs, and this previs was quite cool.
Mhm.
And then yeah, we made the sales trailer. Let's call it sales trailer or the proof of concept trailer. And then yeah, like a lot of stunties helped out. It was amazing, the whole process. And then we made like, because it was so exciting, we made like tons of another proof of concept and videos after that. So it
Oh.
was so funny because I was so involved creatively in that, but then nothing happened. And then yeah, out of nowhere, Morris gave me a call. Hey Dave, it's actually starting. I was like, oh really? I couldn't believe it. So then, yeah, it actually happened. Then I got a call, and then yeah, and
Mm.
then the official previous started. So yeah,
Oh wow, it's so awesome to know that you actually was involved since the beginning. So that's crazy. That's so crazy.
yeah. I was involved since from the beginning, and yeah, a lot of concepts we had made it into the script, and it was a huge honor to be part of a project like this. Even though nobody believed that we'll actually
Uh-huh.
become a film at some point, because I think after 3 years or 4 years, we were like, yeah, nah, yeah, whatever. It might never happen. So yeah.
Uh-huh. But yeah, May, better late than never, right? Better late than never.
Exactly. And you know what? I'm happy that it happened now because I think cinematically I also improved so much
Mm.
in the years, and it became much more clearer for me what I want to do. So the directional part and like creating was is makes so much more fun to me than actually being in front of the camera. So there were a lot of things changed also during the year. So yeah.
Great, great, great. So also I remember you mentioning that from the first interview, you said they were initially casting you as boy, right?
I really don't know if they really planned it, but it was me who played boy because it was like, hey,
Ah.
let's like an R-rated Karate Kid. And then yeah, over the years, of course, the studio became like big, and then they were looking for a, let's call it a proper cast, and then they mentioned few names. I was like, oh, that would not fit. I would not call out names for the main lead for boy, but then called out they mentioned Bill Skarsgård. And I think I mentioned in the last interview that he's such an I loved him in Pennywise, and he's such a character actor, how he expressed himself with the moves. And I think he was also so quite opposite of me. He was so tall and so different. I was like, oh, that's a different approach, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad it happened that way.
Uh-huh. Well, speaking about Bill, can we go dive deeper into his training regime, like for this role and how great of a shape he got into?
Yes. So it all started him coming all the way to, I think he was shooting John Wick during the time we auditioned him. Like he came and we just checked out his movements. We gave him a gun, and I said like, okay, crawl, show me some lower positions and all of that stuff. And then I was like, oh, it's amazing. When he asked me, Dave, how do you envision Boy to move? I was like, I told him, envision Pennywise on drugs with guns and knives. That's it. And it was just a joke, so he laughed about it. But like it, I think more it's. I mean, we are quite aligned that there's some goofiness to the Boy character, but there's also, but Boy at the same time is very much skilled in his martial arts. So it's like this funny combination of both elements. Boy not being sure what to do, and then he's
Right.
doing it. And there's something funny about Boy, which is quite unique, I would say. But like, yeah, his training was a lot of knife work. His training was a lot of punches and mostly figuring out what suits to Bill. Because I remember being with Bill also later on then in South Africa saying, hey, Bill, do this posture. Or how about do this posture? And it was just like figuring out what sort of shape suits him. And then, yeah, it turned out to be a mixture of different sort of martial arts things and postures that suit him. And then we just mumbo jumbled it all together into a martial arts soup. And then, yeah, but his training was intense. He did a lot of stick training, pad work, boxing, then lower posture movements. Plus, he had all of his training, his fitness training together with, mentioned last time, Waldemar Fredrickson, who helped him out to get like this crazy physique. And yeah, so
Did
that's
like
it.
did he have any like martial arts experience before this? Like, did you know?
To be honest, I'm not very sure. I
Oh,
just know that he's a big geek on UFC.
oh,
Like
okay,
when we
okay.
spent time together, he was like, hey, let's watch this UFC fight. Let's do this. And then he still sends me videos from time to time where he's working out, and then
Right.
we are, "Bill, watch out for your hip and all of that stuff." So he's a big fan of martial arts. And what was also quite interesting with working with him on set is that he's very much aware of the camera. So because sometimes we have to change things on set because we were quite organic. Yes, we did had our privacies, but at some point when we will see the privacies, you will see, oh, a lot of things changed because of the location, and then also of specific wishes from the production. And then sometimes we had less shooting days, and then a lot of things. Um, and he was very easy to adapt. And there was this amazing energy of, oh no, David, I think we should do it like this. And I was like, no, we should do it. And then he got back, and then yeah, that was amazing to witness that kind of. He had let me call it like this. He has a great cinematic eye for things, so which was very helpful.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the all the unique weapons you guys thought of in this movie, man.
Yeah.
Like like, of course, like there's the cheese grater, and then there's that fist gun that I've never seen that ever before. So that's something very unique. Can you talk about how you came up with these unique ideas for these weapons?
I think it was always like a cooperation between me and Moritz and some of my stunt guys. But the fist gun, I was like, oh, we're doing a martial arts movie, but we also would like to have guns, right? So I was like, how about we combine these two things together, right? So, and I remember in the original idea of the fist gun was that the fist gun has like a heated string coming out.
Oh,
Oh, but then it became too sci-fi-ish, and then we are like, yeah, you know what? The fist gun, the punch gun stays the punch gun, and I think that's enough, right?
right.
But having said that, I told you last time I don't like to get inspired by things in terms of I stopped watching martial arts movies. Later on, I watched Inglourious Bastards, and they actually have a fist gun, but it's like a fist glove. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I have it that from, but maybe it stayed in my brain for some reason. But I was
Mhm.
like, oh, they have done it. So yeah, I was quite surprised about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
but the cheese grater, um, Moritz said, hey, we're gonna have a fight inside the kitchen.
Right.
Let's
And
think
knife
about
and
it.
knives
Huh?
and stove is just so so regular, right? You gotta throw in something unique like a cheese grater.
Yeah. And they're like, usually you use pans and knives, right? Like you said, it's quite a common thing. And I remember having this call with Morris, and I lived at my mom's apartment during this time, and I just went into the kitchen and I looked at objects, and I was like, Morris, let me call you FaceTime. I have to show you something. And I put the cheese grater on my arm like this, I slipped inside. I was like, that's so cool because it's like a shield and you can scratch. And then I think he even screenshotted it, and then it ended up in the storyboard, right? So that's how the idea came up. And then in South Africa, when we start actually doing the purposes with the cheese grater, I figured out this is quite unpractical to use it like this, because it grates into this direction. This means only movements that go inside will actually create that scratch, right? The pulling movement, right? Then we change it to this, and yeah, with Bill, everything. Yeah, Bill quite rehearsed it a lot. He actually built it all in one take on the day.
Wow.
Pam, 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 pam. But because you want to feature the details of what's the outcome of being murdered by a cheese grater, so we had to show the close-ups, right, which are quite nasty. So, but yeah, he did it all in one take, which was
That's
yeah,
impressive.
amazing.
That's so impressive.
And we really had like very little bit of time on this day. So like it because we were waiting for him to come back, and then I said, okay, we have to get it into a one and get all the people with the makeup and prosthetics, shoot the close-ups first, remove it, and then shoot Bill, because to apply the wounds take longer.
Right.
Yeah, so it's quicker to remove it. You get what I mean, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah,
a
for sure.
the close-ups first, which was quite of a mess in my brain on this day, but like managed somehow. Yeah.
It
Great.
turned out spectacular, so it's so good.
Yeah.
But let's talk about you mentioned you had a little cameo in the film. Like I just saw it once, but so I didn't catch it. Can you tell us a little bit that little cameo you had?
Yeah. So Moritz was so nice that he said like, "Hey Dave, it would be great to have you in the movie. So think about something nice." And Moritz maybe came up with the idea of what if there's actually a goon that who constantly comes back. That's funny because goons, you kill a goon, you kill a soldier movie, and then but what if there's a who constantly comes back? So that's the first idea. And then Moritz was like, I love it, and it's so cool. Let's do it. And then yeah, was just this crazy character who doesn't want to die. And then I was like, but
That's
what?
you. So that
Yeah,
was you. Okay.
yeah. Quite look different. I call it the Clark Kent effect, right? I have these glasses on, and I
Right, right, right.
nobody will ever recognize me probably, but I'm fine with this. Having said that, and yeah, and then the previous was much longer, but I think that was the right amount of time of how how long that fight was in the movie. I think a little bit longer wouldn't be great. So yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. That was just this crazy character, because I thought like, oh, if we have a character like this in the very first fight, and Moise agreed, um, it's like so unpredictable.
Right,
And I think this way the audience, when they watch the movie, is like they will never know what's waiting behind the corner, right? So,
right,
so yeah,
right.
that was the main intention. Yeah.
Cool, cool. Well, let's talk about Andrew, because I'm such a huge fan of Warrior. So when I found
Yeah.
out that he was in this film, I was psyched, and a lot of his fans is very psyched too. So can you talk about your experience working with Andrew Koji?
Yes, of course. Andrew, to work with Andrew was amazing, because to be fair, I've never watched his Warrior thing before. I just watched the trailer,
Hmm.
and but meeting him I met him for the first time in the previous rehearsals, and he came in. He was already like this Basho character, because I noticed that he's such a character actor, because on set he was like Basho, and when we are not shooting, he was like Basho, so he was in character the whole time. So later on, when I watched his interviews, I was like, oh, actually he's different here. Oh, that's Andrew Koji. Wow, and I was amazed. He was very friendly. He was amazed by our purposes, and which was a big compliment. And yeah, to see him on set it was yeah, I laughed so many times because there were so many things happen also on set, like when he took the gun and he put the gun inside his pants. He pretended that the gun shot. Oh, sorry, huh? And he continued to act. I was like, these were such unique moments. They were not in the script, right?
Mhm.
And it's just, it was amazing to work with him. And yeah, I think what was great is like we all know him as a great martial arts actor, of course, but like for him to concentrate more on the acting, to show that how he can act, right? This sort of character. I think it was a great role for him.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and it looks like he had such a great time in the movie, you know, just
Yeah, yeah,
so much fun. Like, compared to his, character in Warrior, he's much more let's say very it doesn't take itself too seriously in the film. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was amazed by his stunt abilities. There's one moment where I can't, it's spoiler, but
Right.
something happens to him and he falls, launches himself backwards into sort of a hut. And I was like, oh, that's very amazing reaction, like, and knowing that, of course, he's coming from a stunt background.
Right.
And I think, yeah, that was great to see.
Okay. That's awesome, man. Okay, final question. Well, for the final question, let's talk about the finale
Yeah,
fight. We're not going to mention any spoilers or anything. So if we just go a little bit, into that finale
yeah,
fight and how your
yeah.
process of doing that fight.
Yeah, like that was very challenging because okay, so most of the time I was staying with the stunties, with my stunt family, right, in the stunt facility, creating this crazy premises. And I think I put a lot of effort and a lot of time into the climax, into the finale, right?
Mhm.
Because I knew the constellation of what's happening in the fight, it's very unique. And it was very challenging because we used a different amount of camera gimbals, and we used FPV drones, which is like from our action design team, Paul Kuhn, who's amazing with the FPV drones. He can fly between the legs, and he can everything I envision. I was like, hey, how about we go this way, and we have a counter movement here, and Paul is the man to do it like
Oh,
right away.
so that was all a drone? That was all a drone?
Most of the stuff was the FPV drone, and I think we are
Wow.
actually the
Wow.
first ones who used the FPV drone inside fight sequences, inside the choreography. If
Mhm.
I think about when this movie was shot, I know some movies have it done already, but like, and I think it was very tough to balance these things because if you do it the whole time, then it becomes a little bit boring. Like it
Yeah,
becomes
yeah.
too much for the audience, for the eyes, right? So we had to balance everything quite nice. And yeah, for the climax fight, I went on completely into the anime style, right?
Mhm.
If you can remember. But at the same time, I wanted to have an organic balance with the martial arts techniques and all of that stuff. And so it was very stylized at the beginning, then it becomes gritty, then it becomes stylized again, then it like bigger movements, bigger, and then everything becomes more gritty and brutal, organic towards the end, right? And I think that was the great balance we had. And we only had 3 days for this. So there was a huge challenge, but like, yeah,
You know
we made
what?
it. Yeah.
You made it, man. And I just love the fact that because some movies, maybe you watch throughout the film and like the best fight maybe like in the middle of the film or but then this is like it builds up, and it's saved like the best fight at the end. And it just gives you like this great satisfaction after watching the movie, like, oh, that's how it's supposed to end, you know?
Thank you so much. But I think I didn't really plan that. I just have like the spirit of excellence somehow. I was like, I always try to push.
Mhm.
And yeah, like when I read the critics, they're saying like, oh, it's a better fight one after the other. But it was never planned out. I always try to give my best on every part, but like, yeah, but yeah, thank you.
Well, David, congratulations again on this excellent film, and I can't wait for audience to see on April 26th. And good luck with everything on your future projects as well. And we'll speak again when you have another project coming up. And yeah, congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. And I always keep myself up to date of what's going on in the martial arts action world on your channels. So yeah, thank you so much and have you another time.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. Bye bye.
See ya.